Hi everyone. In this video, we are discussing Leetcode medium level problem. It's a MySQL problem and the problem number is 2084 and the problem title is drop type 1 orders for customers with type 0 orders, right? Okay, we'll try to understand the problem statement. Okay, so a schema is given and we have just one table called orders and the schema is given. So there are only 3 columns and all the 3 columns are integer columns and the column names are order ID, which is the primary key of this table. It's given so, and we have customer ID and we have order type. Okay, and it's given that the order type is binary basically, right? It's either type 0 or type 1. So we have only 2 different types of orders, type 0 or type 1. Okay, so that we have seen that even in the problem heading, the title of the problem. Okay, so we have 2 types of orders. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? We need to write a SQL query to report all the orders based on the following criteria. So we have the following 2 criteria. Number 1, if a customer has at least one order of type 0, right? A customer may have type 0 order, type 1 order, right? So a customer may have multiple orders. It can be a mixture of both type 0s and type 1, right? So if a customer has at least one type 0 order, in that case, we should not report any order of type 1 from the same customer. Okay, with examples, you will understand better. Okay, we are just reading it. And otherwise, if a customer is not having any type 0 order at all, then we are reporting all the orders of the customer, which is essentially, it will be only list of type 1 orders, right? And we can return the table in any order. And they have given one example. Okay, so check this. Like I told you, there is only one table, which is the orders table. And we have these 3 columns: order ID, the primary key, customer ID, and order type are the other 2 columns, right? Where the repetition is allowed. Only in the order ID, it's unique numbers. Okay. Yeah, so let's check the customer ID 1. You see, this customer 1 is having an order of type 0. The same customer is also placing another order of type 0. And there is no other one over here. Okay, in the middle column, there is no other one. So basically, there is a customer with customer ID 1, and he placed 2 orders. These are 2 different orders. These are the unique order IDs. And both the orders are of type 0. Okay, so this is not a very good example to understand the criteria. So I'll go to the next customer. Look at this. Yeah, this is a very good example. Okay, look at the customer ID 2. Look at this particular customer. This customer placed an order of type 0, and the very same customer also placed an order of type 1. Okay, so this is a example of mixed order. Okay, so he placed only 2, right? Yeah, there are only 2 different orders placed by this customer with ID 2. He placed one order of type 0, one order of type 1. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? The first criteria is, if a customer placed an order of type 0, do not report any of his orders of type 1. You report type 0 only. So in that case, this particular order, this row itself will not be seen in the output table. It will just disappear. We shouldn't count it. Okay, because this particular customer 2, he is having an order of type 0. So we report that. Okay, so the previous order we will report. This particular order we will report. Okay, but this order we are not going to report. Okay, the same logic applies for the customer 3. Right? He's having customer 3. That person has order of type 0 as well as type 1. So we're going to report only the type 0 order, and we are not going to report this. Okay, so these 2 rows are not going to be there. They won't feature in the output table, right? And look at this customer 4. This customer has only type 1 order. Okay, so both the orders we are going to display in our output table, right? Okay, so this is the output table, and it's the same explanation whatever I have given you so far. Okay, so how to code this? Let's keep this example table for reference. Let's see how to code this. You see, basically, if you look at those 2 conditions, the idea is very clear. We will have to segregate type 0 orders and type 1 orders. It's basically like we are breaking this entire table into 2 parts, type 0 and type 1 orders. Okay, so let's do that thing first. Okay, so we are going to use CTE method, CTE approach, common table expressions approach. Okay, so let me call it zeros. I call this CTE as zeros. Okay, and here in this temporary table, we are going to capture those customers, their orders. Whenever the order type is 0, we are going to capture them, right? Those entries. Okay. So we are going to select order ID, customer ID, and order type. It is exactly in this order they wanted, right? Yes, it is. Yeah. So we are going to select order ID, customer ID, and order type from, obviously, from the orders table. And what is the criteria? What is the filtering criteria? The criteria is that the order type is of type 0. Let me copy, paste it. Yeah, order type is of type 0. So basically, in this temporary table called as zeros, we are capturing all those orders of type 0, right? So this is one part of the problem. Okay, so we have the list of all the orders and the customers who placed an order of type 0. Okay, so we are going to do a very similar thing. Okay, the filtering condition is going to vary, but otherwise almost a very similar thing we are going to do to capture type 1 orders. Okay, so I call it once. Let's call it once. Okay, the previous table we called it zeros. This one, let's call it once. I can even copy paste the whole thing, but the filtering criteria will change. Okay. Okay, so we are capturing the same columns. We are capturing order ID, then customer ID, then order type. Okay, and we are taking all these things from the orders table only. But what's the condition here? What is the condition here? What should be the filtering criteria? We cannot say order type is 1. We cannot simply copy this. We cannot simply copy this, because if we do this in this particular table, that table called as ones, in this particular table, it will capture, imagine this, okay, this line of code, it will capture even this particular record, right? It will capture because it is satisfying the filtering criteria. Order type is 1. So this will be captured, but we don't want this at all. It will capture even this. This line of code will capture even this particular entry, but we don't want it because we don't want the orders of type 1 from any of those customers who also placed an order of type 0. Customer number 2, customer number 3, these customers, they also placed an order of type 0. So we don't want any of their orders of type 1. So how should we achieve that? So we can't just do order type is 1. That is not going to work. Okay. So the idea is simple. Make sure that the customer ID, right? This customer ID is not in the list of customer IDs that we captured in the previous table, zeros, right? This particular filtering condition, does it make sense? Okay. It says the customer ID should not be in the list of customer IDs that we have already captured in the previous table called table zeros, right? Okay, because those are the customers who placed an order of type 0. So we don't want this in this list. We don't want any of those customers to be repeated. Okay, so this filtering condition will take care of it. So that's it. Okay, so that's all we need to do. So finally, we are making the actual query where we are selecting the rows from both the tables, and of course we will have to apply union, and we don't have to do any order by, since they said that we can return the table in any order. Yeah, I think it should work. There is some small error. Okay, what is that error? Okay, yeah, silly mistake. Check the spelling of union. Sorry, union. It is supposed to be from. Okay, so select customer ID from zeros, right? It's not in zeros. Sorry. So let's check this now. Excellent, it worked. Now let's actually submit our code and check its performance. Okay, our code has been accepted, and the runtime complexity and the memory complexity is also pretty decent. I hope that this video was useful. Thank you for watching.